Let's be honest. Most people are too afraid to admit they don't like you directly. Instead, they hide behind fake smiles, empty compliments, and forced politeness. I've been there too, believing someone was a friend only to later realize they secretly wanted to see me fail. It's a harsh reality. But if you don't recognize the warning signs, you'll waste your energy on people who will never truly understand you. So let's cut through the nonsense and talk about the signs that someone dislikes you but is keeping it under wraps. You might not like what you hear, but it's better to face the truth than live in denial. 1. They constantly joke about your flaws. We all know that one person who loves to joke, especially when the joke is at your expense. They pick at your quirks, your mistakes, and your insecurities, all while grinning and saying, "I'm just messing with you." At first, it seems harmless, but let's not fool ourselves. These jokes are often more than just playful teasing. They're subtle jabs designed to chip away at your confidence bit by bit. I once had someone in my life who always had something to say about me, my clothes, my speech, even my projects. At first, I laughed along, thinking it was just friendly banter. But over time, I noticed a pattern. Their jokes always targeted my weaknesses, never my strengths. I started questioning myself, wondering if my so-called flaws were really that obvious. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. People who constantly joke about your shortcomings aren't doing it out of affection. They're testing the waters, seeing how much disrespect you'll tolerate. It's a subtle form of manipulation, a way to assert dominance while keeping you in your place. And the worst part? They get away with it because society tells us that if we can't take a joke, we're the ones with the problem. But let's flip the script. You have every right to stand up for yourself when a joke crosses the line. True friends don't need to tear you down to feel better about themselves. If someone constantly uses humor to make you feel small, it's time to question whether they really belong in your life. 2. Their compliments feel like insults. We've all experienced this. Someone gives you a compliment, but instead of feeling good, you're left with a weird, uneasy feeling. It's the kind of praise that makes you stop and think, wait, was that even a compliment? These backhanded compliments are a sneaky way for people to undermine you while pretending to be nice. I remember pouring my heart into a big project and finally sharing it with others. One person, whom I considered supportive, smiled and said, "Wow, this is actually pretty good for someone like you." Those last few words hit me like a ton of bricks. Was I not supposed to be capable of good work? These so-called compliments have a hidden purpose. They're not meant to lift you up. They're meant to remind you of your place. It's a power move, a way for the person giving it to assert superiority while making you question yourself. Let's be real. People who give backhanded compliments are often dealing with their own insecurities. They see your potential and it makes them uncomfortable, so they try to keep you doubting yourself. But here's the truth. You don't have to accept these disguised insults. When someone says, "You're smarter than you look," or "This is great considering you're new at this," call it out. Ask, "What do you mean by that?" It forces them to confront the hidden insult in their words. 3. They subtly exclude you from plans. Sometimes the smallest things hurt the most, like realizing your so-called friends accidentally forgot to invite you to an event. They'll swear it was a mistake, claim it was last minute, or assume you were too busy. But let's be real, these aren't accidents. This is social exclusion in its most subtle form. And it's a clear sign that you're not as valued as you thought. I've been there, checking my phone, seeing pictures of my friends having a great time at an event I would have loved to be at. No one mentioned it to me beforehand, and when I asked about it later, they were full of excuses. Deep down, I knew the truth. If they had truly wanted me there, they would have made sure I knew about it. This kind of exclusion isn't just forgetfulness, it's intentional. It's a silent way of telling you that you're not a priority. The longer you accept their excuses, the more they'll continue to push you out. I used to let these oversights slide, hoping I'd be included next time. But I finally decided to call it out. It was uncomfortable, but it changed the dynamic. I stopped being an afterthought. If people want you in their lives, they'll make the effort to include you. If they don't, it's time to rethink the value of that friendship. 4. They're always busy when it comes to you. I'm so busy these days, the classic excuse. We all have responsibilities, but when someone always finds time for others while constantly being too busy for you, it's not about their schedule, it's about their priorities. I've had friendships where I reached out multiple times to catch up, only to be met with excuse after excuse. Yet, I'd see them hanging out with other people, somehow always finding time for everyone except me. Eventually, I realized the truth. They weren't too busy. They were just too busy for me. We've been conditioned to accept busy as a valid excuse. But let's be real. People make time for what matters to them. If someone is always too busy for you, they've already decided you're not a priority. And that's okay. Just don't waste your energy chasing after them. 5. They avoid physical contact with you. Physical contact is a fundamental part of human interaction, whether it's a friendly hug, a handshake, or a pat on the back. So when someone actively avoids even the smallest touch, it speaks volumes about how they feel about you. I once knew someone who seemed to recoil whenever I went for a handshake. At first I thought I was imagining things, but then I noticed they were warm and affectionate with everyone else. That's when I realized it wasn't just their personality, it was about me. Not everyone is touchy-feely, and that's fine. But if someone is fine with hugging others, yet flinches when you're around, it's a red flag. They may not dislike you enough to say it outright, but their body language tells the truth. Don't ignore those signs. 6. They disappear when you need support. Nothing exposes a relationship's true nature like a crisis. When things go wrong, you quickly learn who's really in your corner. Some people are great at being around for the fun moments, but the second you need actual support, they vanish. I learned this lesson the hard way. When I hit a rough patch, I expected my friends to check in, even if just with a quick message. Instead, silence. The same people I had been there for suddenly had every excuse in the book. Here's the truth. Real friends show up even when it's inconvenient. If someone disappears the moment you need them, they were never truly there in the first place. Final thoughts. At the end of the day, life is too short to surround yourself with people who don't see your worth. If someone constantly puts you down, excludes you, or makes excuses, don't ignore the signs. You deserve relationships where you're valued, respected, and appreciated, not just tolerated. Stand tall, set boundaries, and never settle for less than you deserve.